Hi guys, it's Mr. Gonzalez again, here with lesson 14, repeat signs and first and second endings. The main objective of this lesson is to understand how to use repeat signs and how first and second endings work. Let's take a look. Two dots placed before the double bar indicate a repeat sign. It means to go back to the beginning and play or sing the music again. Here is what our repeat sign looks like. We have two dots on each side of the third line, and then we have a thin line and a thick line, similar to how we have a double bar line at the end of music. Repeat signs sometimes appear in pairs within a piece of music. The first repeat sign will then have two dots placed after the double bar. When this occurs, return to the first repeat sign at the beginning of the section. Let's take a look here. In this example, we see two measures outside of this repeat sign. So, once we continue playing and get to the last repeat sign, we will go back to the first repeat sign and play this inner section again. So these first two measures only get played once. Another way to indicate a repeat is within first and second endings. Play or sing through the first ending to the repeat sign, then go back to the beginning. When repeating, skip the first ending and play the second ending. If we look here, these two measures are outside of the first ending, which is indicated by this bracket. So, we play all four measures the first time. When we get to this repeat sign, we go back to the beginning, play these two measures, then on the repeat we skip to the second ending. So we go from here to here and finish off the music. Let's take a look at the following exercises. For our first exercise, we are going to rewrite the following example using a repeat sign. Let's take a look. The easiest thing we can do is look for a pattern. So, we see 4 quarter notes here in the first measure. Let's look for 4 more quarter notes. Nope. Nope. Even though these two do have 2 half notes, they aren't the same. So we're just going to skip these completely. And then a whole note? No, we're not going to use that. But we see 4 quarter notes and 4 quarter notes here. And all the notes match up. Okay, I think we found the start of a new pattern, but let's check. The next two measures have half notes. Let's check the next two measures after here. Okay, so we got half notes, and all of the half notes are matching up. Alright, and now we both see these whole notes. So, these 4 measures repeat here. So, to save some space, let's compress this using a repeat sign. And there we go. This 8 measure phrase up here has now been condensed into 4 measures using this repeat sign. For our second exercise, we are going to rewrite the following example using a pair of repeat signs. Here we go. I have already written our pair of repeat signs. We can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 measures will be repeated and 2 measures will not. Let's start taking a look up here to see what we have. So these 2 measures already stand out. We can assume that these 2 are going to be the first measures of our rewrite. But let's hold off right now. So next we need to find 5 measures that repeat. Let's take a look and start comparing. So these 2 measures, maybe, but let's keep going. We see these 2 measures, and these 2 measures have the same rhythm, but not the same notes, so most likely not. And then here we see this dotted half note on a C. It doesn't really match up with anything, so these are all fairly unique. Let's take a look at our next measure. Alright. Well, we've seen two dotted half notes right next to each other before, and are they the same? Yes, they're the same. Okay, so it's safe to assume this is the start of the repeated section, but let's double check. Here we have two measures of the same rhythm, the half note and the quarter note, and it looks similar to these two measures. Alright, so far so good. And then our last measure is a dotted half note on C, and then we saw a dotted half note on C here. Okay, it's safe to assume that these 5 measures are repeated here. So we're going to drop down these two measures as our two opening, and then these 5 measures will go in our repeated section. By using these two repeat signs, we are condensing this whole section into just 5 measures. And for our final exercise, we are going to rewrite the following example using first and second endings. Let's go. Remember, when using first and second endings, there is going to be a small portion of music that is repeated, but the ending changes. Let's take a look and find some patterns to help us determine what's going to be the first ending and what's going to be the second ending. Since I've already written our first and second endings as well as our repeat sign, we can see that we have two measures that will repeat. So let's look for a two-measure pattern. So we're going to compare these two measures to every two-measure segment that we find in this passage, just to look for a pattern. So comparing these two measures to these two measures, we can see that they're already too different to even continue looking. So we'll compare these with measures 5 and 6. Alright, looks like we have a match. Our first measure and measure 5 match, and our second measure and measure 6 match. But let's just test the last two measures. So take a good look here, and then take a good look here. They don't match. Alright, so we found the repeated section, measures 5 and 6, and measures 1 and 2. Since we figured out that measures 1 and 2 and 5 and 6 are our first two measures of our rewrite, we can take measures 3 and 4 and put them in our first ending, and measures 7 and 8 and put them in our second ending. And there we go. With a little bit of first and second ending magic, we have reduced this top example into these 6 measures here. Great job. And that's it for today's lesson, guys. I hope you feel more confident in your ability to identify and use repeat signs and especially first and second endings. In our next lesson, we will be looking at eighth notes.